Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Cardboard Coach Neil. Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you watching. Um, this is not going to be a baseball card video, as you may have seen from the thumbnail. It's more of a question to the audience. If there's anything else that you collect besides baseball cards. Now, I'm not really talking about pre-war and post-war collections or baseball cards and vintage and modern. I'm not talking about sports and non-sports or basketball and football, anything like that. I'm talking about two completely separate collections, and just kind of wondering if two collections can coexist when you're on a budget, right? I like baseball cards a lot more, but Star Wars is my other one. I have been infatuated with Star Wars. I love it. I've seen every movie several times. All the Disney stuff that's put out. We're actually big Disney fans as well. And I like it. I mean, I can't get enough of it. When it came out in the theater, I was there. Not quite double digits, but that's going to show my age. But no one expected Star Wars to take off. The movie executives did not expect anything. George Lucas had the foresight to request that he has all merchandising rights, which, from what I understand, they gladly gave him. And just talk about a windfall. I mean, the merchandising far exceeds the gross revenue of those films and everything else that came out about it. But Star Wars, again, it wasn't supposed to be a hit, and within a few days, I mean, it was the thing. It was all over the place, and I think it was out in the theater for well over a year, which is unheard of nowadays. It was a cultural phenomenon, and there wasn't anything out there to buy. I mean, you eventually got notebooks and notepads. I think this Star Wars lunchbox came out shortly. I think every kid in school had one, or most. But it was the toys. I was still a young lad and liked toys still. And Star Wars figures, when they came out, I mean, I'm not going to go into great detail or try to fill you guys in. If you know already. If you're still watching, I appreciate it, because, again, this is not really about baseball cards, but more of a question if you collect something else. But Star Wars figures, when they came out, they set the mark. Before that, it was Mego superheroes, which were about 9 to 10 inches, G.I. Joes, which were about 12 inches or more. When Star Wars figures came out, they were scaled way down to like 3 3/4, and some of them even less. And that kind of set the tone for the toy industry. And so I got into them. I still have all my figures when I was a kid. They're well loved, well played with. My kids have played with them, and they're tucked away, but they're beaten up. They got a lot of good use out of them. They're missing the guns, the lightsabers, all capes are no longer. So probably about 20 years ago, I bought just a handful of loose Star Wars figures, and just to kind of get, and just I still have those as well. But about 10 years ago, I became aware of toy, grading companies, AFA and CAS. I'm going to show you some of those, and became aware of variants and variations, and just so many rabbit holes to go down. And I haven't bought any Star Wars in a number of years, but I still have them all that I bought, which is rare, because I usually get, I don't want to say bored, but I have a tendency every now and then to kind of sell a few items from my card collection to get something else. Sometimes I go back again and do the same exact thing and pick up things I got rid of. But it keeps my collection fresh. It keeps it kind of ongoing. And again, if you're working on a budget and you have champagne taste with Miller Lite wallet or beer wallet, whatever the saying is, sometimes you got to do that. You got to do what you got to do. But Star Wars, it's something. It's a completely separate collection. And the reason I'm making this video is over the year and a half, 2 years I've been watching YouTube, and certainly in the past 5 months since I've been creating content, I have noticed that when someone has a background behind them, or if they're showing off their man cave or showing off a collection, something, every now and then I see something either action figure related or Star Wars related. So I figured I'd ask that question. If you're like me, anytime someone shows or is talking to the camera and making content, and they have stuff behind them, I'm listening, but my eyes are all over the place, seeing what else he or she has. So I'm going to show you just a couple of pieces from Star Wars, so you can kind of get the idea. Maybe this will help with your answer. You may say, yeah, dude, sell it all. Or you may say, hey, look, I actually have some of that as well. Just encouraging some comments and just to see. I'm not considering selling all of it, but at times, when you do kind of get older, you do start thinking about, at some point, some type of consolidation. I'm not there yet. I don't know if I ever will be, but I'm just kind of curious. So let me show you a few of the items that I do have. Okay, so the first thing that we're looking at, I have said before that I'm not a set collector, but I have put together two sets instead of just buying one. A lot of these are from my childhood. This is the 1977 complete Star Wars set. And I got to say, I put this together, I don't know how many years ago, a long time ago. Again, most of them were from my childhood. But I'm not going to show you them all, but these are all pretty good shape. I mean, they're all pretty much like ex-mint, near mint, some a little bit higher. I don't know if you can see, I don't want to take it out, but Luke, which is the big one, little off center. It's a tough card to find, but a lot of these, this is the blue series, then it goes into red, into yellow, into green, and finally the orange. The orange was put out last. It's a lot of like production type of cards, like showing behind the scenes, like production. It's cool. There are 5 series in it, but that's the first thing I have. But again, I was waiting for toys. Now, and again, I'm not going to show you all the figures. I do have the whole first 12 in carded form. And let me just show you Luke right here. He's obviously loose, but you can see, pretty good shape. This is one of the figures I bought about 20 years ago. Pretty good shape. Limbs are still kind of good. I'm not, again, I don't want to sound nerdy or get into all that, all the nuances of figures and stuff, but a good solid figure. But then I found out, again, about 10 years ago and later, that there's also a brown-haired variation. Now, this is one of the companies. This is CAS, okay? So it's a collector's archive, and it's this one is graded an 80, which is pretty much like about a 7.5. Still trying to these grades. I've never seen anything higher than a 90, which is pretty much like a 10. But this is a brown-haired one. So when you compare, there are some variations. And I never knew that as a kid. I mean, but I always knew that Luke didn't have yellow hair. It was more kind of like this. But again, these things have just taken off considerably. And, and not just the loose and the individually graded figures, but some of the ones like, I just pulled out a couple just because I want to show you what I'm talking about. I mean, so you have Darth Vader, Kenner, but you also have another company. I don't know if you can see that. This is Glassleet. This was produced in the later 80s. It's a much different plastic. And when you put them side by side, you can kind of tell. Not on a video. I've tried it before, sending it to someone. It just, you really can't tell, but it's a different type of plastic, a different variation. This is a very, very tough figure, from what I understand now. And this is graded in 85. So this is a pretty high grade for the Darth Vader, but even then you got the bootlegs. So, I mean, again, you get the idea. There's a lot of different things that you can collect, and it's challenging because I'm still a part of a number of Facebook groups. I still follow a few channels on YouTube, which, actually one of them is probably one of the reasons I started watching YouTube a couple of years ago. Again, I don't know how I have an account, but I do. I did before I created some content, but this is a bootleg. And these are like really, really tough to find. But you get the idea. I mean, I have the basic stuff, but I also have, some of the later versions where this is from Return of the Jedi, which is the third and final film of the original trilogy. But what's cool about it is it has an Anakin Skywalker sticker, a giveaway. So you would send in these proofs of purchases down here. And this one is a 77 back. Again, I'm not going to go into all this stuff, but if you want to talk privately about this kind of stuff, yeah, I'll be more than happy. If there's any Star Wars guys out there that just want to kind of confess their nerddom, or whatever you want to call it. And I say that in a funny way because, again, we all collect baseball cards, which is kind of, well, I guess now it's kind of widely accepted. But, this is just, just some of the stuff. And a really cool piece is an Italian. This is an original 12 back. As you can see, it's doesn't say Star Wars, but this is from Italy, and Darth Fener. So that's Italian for father. And this is a Harbert, not Kenner. So Kenner had to contact other manufacturers across the world. This was such a hit. They could not keep up with demand. Now this one's a tough one. I mean, this is not punched. And again, I bought this years and years ago. And as you can see, this is the original 12 back. You can see from the back, there's only the 12 figures. I have all of them versus 77 as it progressed through the years. But another thing I want to point out is this is just like some of the items. So you see this, let me just go like this thing right here, which I usually show my cards. Is just easier with the tripod and so on and so forth. I'm going to pull this off and I'm going to show you what is under it. Okay, let me see if I can do the unveiling with I put this tablecloth on when I started making videos down here. But this is kind of a lot of my collection. Let me just see if I can get this camera off, kind of show you what I'm talking about. A couple unopened packs. I got just some stuff in there. Just, I'm not going to go piece by piece, but you get the idea, where I really do enjoy displaying this kind of stuff. I got some tough variant graded, including the actual Emperor. The R2-D2 is one of my first ever Star Wars toys. Doesn't work anymore. It was radio controlled. But, a lot of the 12 back stuff. Up there, I got a Chewbacca mug, which was one of the first officially licensed Star Wars pieces of merchandise. It was a guy named Jim Rumpf. Really, really good pottery maker made these steins, and George Lucas agreed as long as he gave him one of each, and he loved the Chewbacca. It's a real nice piece. But this is kind of right here, and I got a couple early comic books in decent grade, and some models. A big Darth Vader fan, huge Chewbacca fan, but you get the idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so that was pretty much my Star Wars collection. I mean, there's other stuff, but that's like the gist of it. It's not huge, but it's a separate collection, and I figure there has to be at least a few other collectors out there that have something similar, whether it's Star Wars or other type of action figures or toys or whatever, pet rocks, and just kind of wondering, is it better? I don't want to say better. Is it easier to just continue doing what you're doing, or is it something that you have thought about where kind of letting go the one collection just to concentrate on baseball cards? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but it's always good to listen to the audience and to see if other collectors have the same type of thought process going on. But I appreciate you watching again. Hopefully this content was enjoyable. And until next time, we'll talk.